next, we have a keynote speech by Professor Alexey Dingli. He is the Professor of Artificial Intelligence in the University of Malta. He has been in the field of artificial intelligence for over 20 years. Professor Dingley was also the mayor of Valletta, the smallest capital city in the European Union, for over a decade. Let's give him a round of applause.
His Highness, Excellencies, friends, thank you for this great event over here. It's my pleasure to be here with you. We're talking a lot about the metaverse, but sometimes we speak about the metaverse as if it's something that's still coming over us. Throughout my presentation, I will go through what we are doing actually to turn this metaverse into a reality. I'll be talking about the work conducted at the University of Malta, together with other industry partners mentioned over there. My presentation is divided into three. First of all, the meta training. So how are we training the future generation for the metaverse? Second, metatherapy. So how are we using it in health? And last but definitely not least, meta management. So how we go beyond the metaverse into mixed reality, whereby we can also control physical buildings through the metaverse as well. So the first is meta training. One of the things which we're doing in Malta, it's a big project, something which is very close to my heart as well, is the optimization of education. This morning we heard that education is extremely important. It's important because we are generating the people of tomorrow, and through this project we created actually an AI system which actually optimizes the learning of children. In fact, Faye, which is by the way named after my little daughter, is the FAIR Artificial Intelligence Educator. It's currently being deployed in public schools in Malta. It's a web application which offers a fun learning experience. Because after all, I believe that education should be fun. But however, the interesting thing about it is that it is personalized for each and every child. And in fact, if you have a look at how it actually works, it's nothing different from what traditionally happens. Now, you have a teacher, she delivers the lesson, and then at the end of the lesson, she gives a number of exercises. Now, the difference is that rather than giving an exercise from a textbook, it simply presses a button, the AI in the background creates a profile for the students, and actually creates a set of exercises specifically for the abilities of those children. The idea is that no one is left behind, that everybody can move at his own pace, and eventually reach the other achievements as well. So the educator explains the lesson, Faye gives out the personalized exercises, it corrects them there and then, and if the child has some sort of problems, Faye, which is the AI behind our system, is also there to help the students. This is extremely important because let's not forget that some students are not so lucky to have assistance, especially at home. So using this system, we can manage to reach those students and ensure that they also achieve. In the end, there's a gamification element, which essentially promotes and give the children some sort of reward. This is the simple interface because the first version of Faye was deployed to Year 4 students, so they're quite young. The reason being that in Malta, students get a tablet from Year 4. And that is why we decided to start from that age. And it is used over here, it's a case study for mathematics. However, the same principle can apply to practically any topic which we want. Evaluation, we of course evaluated the system. It's been used by thousands of students. And after just 1 month, we're seeing the results almost immediately. What's most impressive is that it seems that our system is reaching especially the low achievers. So those that are not capable of reaching the level required within the class. Of course, the average students and the high achievers are still getting good results, but low achievers have an incredible 18% improvement in their educational attainment. The next thing I wanted to show is something related to VR, especially when it comes to autism, but it can be used, of course, for other conditions as well. Now, in this case, we created a VR experience specifically for what was mentioned earlier when we spoke about emotions, no? What goes into a person with autism. So the idea here is to try to help not only the LSC, so the learning support educators, but also the families of those people from autism. And over here, what we did was to create an experience which we called A Day in the Life of an Autistic Child. So essentially, it's a very simple application, but it was enhanced by our team. It's a VR experience, and once you put on this VR experience, you can go through what this child experiences in a day. Now, this is, of course, just a demo. You're seeing it a little bit strange because it's a 360 video. Okay, so ideally, you see it with the VR goggles. You see the child going through his day-to-day school. He's talking to his educator over there. It goes through the class. Maybe some children start teasing him, and sort of the interaction between the student and, of course, the class environment. Now, I won't show you the video because I don't have enough time, but what's interesting are rather the results, especially because using the system, we managed to get through to those people. And in fact, we had 2% of those people who actually removed their VR and started crying in the middle of their experience. It was a very touching experience. We were quite surprised because, most of them were the parents who live 24/7 with children with autism. But seeing how that child looks to the world through his eyes is something totally different. And that is why I emphasize a lot on the power of virtual reality and why the metaverse, of course, will be changing our life. Of course, there are other things like heavy breathing, facial expressions, which we noticed. But maybe the most significant results is the fact that after trying the experience, these people actually changed their ideas about autism and about autistic children. So people who had no opinion of autism quickly formed one. Some became highly emotional. 50% declared that they are in a better position to understand how a child on the spectrum felt. Of course, we need to do more research here. And this leads me to the next application, which is metatherapy, so where we're going. Now, VR is extremely powerful, and this can manage to change people. And that is why we are studying this, and I'll show you this through our applications. We did another experience for Schizophrenia Vr. Now, this was a little bit different. First of all, there's the first phase, which was more about teaching about schizophrenia. So what happens today? When you have a mental health professional, the mental health professional would essentially read about schizophrenia from a book, no? Or at most go through some sort of verbal stimulation. But over here, we are recreating the effects of schizophrenia via virtual reality. And as I said, it was extremely powerful as well. So the difference between the previous system is that now you still have the VR headset, but you have the AI controlling the experience. And it is the AI that is actually changing what's happening inside the virtual world. In fact, I'll start the video, but of course we won't be showing it all. That's my student who's trying the experience. The world is practically an open world. Why? Because the user can choose to go wherever he wants within that environment. Apart from that, at a point in time, when he's discussing with his colleagues, he starts hearing voices, so audible hallucinations. And you can see them at the top in red. If there was the sound, of course, you would have heard the voices. Then all of a sudden, the AI decides when to introduce as well the visual hallucinations. And in fact, the results we got were that it was very realistic for the students that actually tried it out. In fact, 91% stated that the simulation has helped them increase their understanding because, of course, when you're not with schizophrenia, you start, you do not understand it properly. 62 of participants agreed that the flow of the storyline adapted by AI felt very natural, and that was the heart of our experience. It was the AI that was actually deciding what to do. And 73% of respondents agreed that the visual hallucinations seemed realistic, and so the auditory. Now, the interesting part in this project is what's coming next. because what's coming next is actually the treatment of schizophrenia. When people suffer from schizophrenia, we are told that they hear a voice. However, the treatment normally involves confronting that voice. So what we're going to do is to create avatars which they will describe based upon the voices and the hallucinations they're seeing. That will enable us to control those avatars, and they can ultimately confront those avatars. And that is the therapy that we're planning for this project. Finally, the VR project, which I'm going to illustrate here, has to do with pain distraction. So pain is something which, we've all felt some sort of pain now, and the pain simply goes up our body and goes to our brain. And it is the brain that actually interprets the pain which we feel. However, there's a therapy called distraction therapy. So if we distract the brain from the pain, actually that person forgets or doesn't feel that pain for a period. So what we did was to create yet another VR system. I'll show you a demo soon. Basically, you have the headset, okay? But we also are using biosensors. So essentially, we're getting biological information from the smartwatch. We're feeding the biological information to the AI, which is in the headset. And the headset is deciding what to show to the person. So we are actually changing the VR experience in real time while the person is using the experience. The reason why is obvious. We want the person to be super engaged, because the more engaged the person is in the VR, then of course the less pain the person will feel. And here is a short video of the experience. It is a sort of a roller coaster kind of experience, because based upon our research, that is what the users wanted from this experience. Essentially, you start going through this island, then you meet different animals, and at one point, you have these stars coming around, and you start looking at them and shooting these stars. But the idea here is to increase engagement. And how the stars appear or what they do depends on the AI. Now, the interesting thing about it is, of course, the results. When we conducted the results, the state-of-the-art was by the University of Washington, that actually managed to reduce the pain by up to 50%. Now, keep in mind that, this reduction in pain is happening without any sort of medication, just by using the VR and going through the experience. But with our system, we managed to reach 80%. So we're getting a 30% increase over the state-of-the-art with regards to pain management in our system. Finally, about meta-management. Now here I'll be talking about a technology which we developed, which is called digital triplets. You might have heard about digital twins, no? So a digital twin is essentially a virtual replica of a physical system, but we took it a step further. So what we did was to create a digital twin, but also add what we are calling a triplet. And I'll explain in a second what is this triplet. So in traditional systems, you would have the live system. The live system would give the data to the digital twin. The user can then visualize it, so using virtual reality, using augmented reality, and reality. So he can see it on the tablet. And of course, instruct the user about potential changes. Now, the difference is that we are also giving that data to another AI, and this time the AI has a sort of sandbox. In that sandbox, the AI is creating a virtual replica of the physical system. And throughout that sandbox, he can try different configurations. So he can say, listen, what happens if we change this parameter over here? What happened if we change the other parameter? All right? If those simulations don't work, it's just a throwaway simulation, so it's just thrown away. But if they do work, the results then are sent back to the system, and they're modified by the user. This has shown to provide us with incredible benefits, simply because, of course, the AI is not just proposing what can happen, but the AI already tested what's going to happen and obtained results based upon those. So here is just one of the screenshots of the system. In this case, it's a facilities management system, so you can see different places and temperatures, etc. But the interesting things are the results, of course. First of all, we are reducing operational costs, because you're not just testing a system, but it's the AI that already tested the system for you. Easier troubleshooting with minimal downtime. In fact, we managed to reduce the downtime by quite a substantial amount. Real-time response, because you know exactly what's happening and you have the AI assisting you with anything that's happening. Prioritization of physical improvements. Since the changes are tested a priori, that means that you already have a prioritization of what to do next. So actually the AI is suggesting to you which changes are required. Increase occupant comfort. Of course, ultimately, we are doing this to help the people. System can be testing without affecting the other computers, because you are not just taking the suggestions of the AI, but the AI already is trying it for you. Automating process through self-evaluation and testing, and this is something which we do quite heavily. So the system is testing itself. It's coming with possibilities and checking whether they are good before it actually suggests them to them. And of course, you know, explainable AI, because AI has to explain itself to the user. Why was a decision taken? We shouldn't just trust AI blindly, but we should have the reasons why such decisions were taken. And these are some of the results which we obtained. As you can see, the difference between a digital twin and a triplet, you find that the overall accuracy of the predictions increased by about 16%, from 78 to 94%. Unplanned downtime of machinery was reduced by 1.5 hours. And of course, you know, that means a lot of money. And the user trust level in the system increased as well to 86%. That was all from my end. I'll stop with this quote, which I really like, which says, "The future belongs to those who prepare for it today." Thank you.